Hello and welcome to another Wednesday webinar from J-Skills Launch Your Life After Journalism. Today we are going to talk about resumes and the resume section at the top of a resume. And so we are going to talk about this summary and say, what is it? Do I need one? And if I do feel like I need one, how do I write it? So let me share my screen and then we can get started. Excellent. So let me just go into presentation mode and then we can go from there. Great. So let's dig in. Today's learning goals. Today's learning goals are we're going to learn the role of a resume and the role that a resume summary plays in the career transition job search process. We're also going to understand what is a summary section and how it can help you in this transition. And finally, we are going to have do's and don'ts for writing a summary section that syncs. First, some level setting. Of course, if you want to change the way that your name is displayed, you can do that in Zoom and you can put questions in the chat. And we are recording the presentation, but not the Q&As. And please mute yourself if you're not speaking. And I'd love if you would turn the video on for the Q&A section so that we can see you since we're not recording. And of course, raise your hand. I will take the questions from the chat. And I have a survey at the end of the webinar. And just as a heads up, here's the link to the survey. And I will also have it again at the end. So here we go. So first, if this is your first time watching me or meeting me, I want to just have a little background about who I am and what is J-Skills. And of course, I'll use the 5 W's plus H. So I'm a former newspaper reporter. That's the kind of journalism I did my whole career, except for a very short stint working for women's magazines before I went to J-School. And then I made a transition. I became an advocate working in education, and I worked in the arts and the humanities. And when I say I became an advocate, I basically worked at organizations whose sole purpose was education or the arts and humanities, and then I worked to promote their work. And now I'm an entrepreneur. And what I do is that I make career change easy because it's too hard right now, and make it much more accessible so that you, journalists, can have the life and career that you want outside of the newsroom. And I've been doing that for the past 8 years. I've been 8 years post-newsroom and in this transition, and I started teaching journalists in 2018 online, and I do in-person panels and events. And how do I get this done? I have an online community and email list where you probably found me, as well as I share some free resources, and of course the paid online course, J-Skills Launch Your Life After Journalism. The course is currently not open right now, but it will be open this year later for enrollment. Why do I do this? Because there's no outplacement service for journalists. Journalists have amazing skills that the world really needs. I saw that after I made my transition. I've talked to other journalists who have said the same thing, and there's no way to really harness that talent and put it to a greater purpose. And you can be happier. If you want a change and you're not happy now, I know that you can be happier. So I got some pre-questions before this webinar, things like, how do I make my resume stand out? And how do I even gauge if I need a resume section? I mean, a summary section, excuse me. And how do I even start to think about doing this for myself? I'm really good about other people, but how do I do it for me, right? Typical journalist dilemma. We think about others only and not really ourselves. So I always start out by talking about mindset. And it's really important because the words, the thoughts in your head become ideas that really drive your action. So we want those thoughts in your head to be as positive and action-oriented as possible. Positive to propel you forward in a way that makes you feel like, yes, I can do this. So I always talk about these 3 concepts when it comes to career change, and they will frame our conversation. The concept of the traffic light. No matter what you do, you will encounter 3 different reactions to your actions. People will love you, they're the green. People will say, I'm not sure, that's the yellow. And people will say, absolutely not, that's the red. Now, when it comes to making a career change and applying, you may have the red in your head, like, oh, no one's gonna hire me, but there's yellow and green because traffic light. And also the concept of the gray side. This is not a black or white either or paradigm like it is in journalism. You want people to see beyond your different journalism jobs and take a gray approach and say, maybe this is someone who I do want to work with. And you don't want to be that journalist observer. You don't want to be neutral about what you want to do. You want to be a player and you want to take action. And so today's topic with the 5 W's plus H. How do I write a summary section on my resume that sings? A resume is so important to landing a new job in a new career. But guess what? It's just one piece of the pie. Let me say that again. A resume is so important to landing a new job in a new career, but it's just a piece of the pie. So what else goes into landing a new job in a new career? There is a referral. Do you have somebody who was vouching for you that you actually are good for the job? And there is an intro blurb. Someone who, this is a way to actually explain who you are very quickly and what you can do. And usually that is sent by email. And then of course there is the ever important job description. What actually are they looking for in the job description? And then of course there is the cover letter, which most of the time people do ask for one, unfortunately. And then this is what we will talk about today, the resume plus the resume summary. And as a piece of that also in this process is your LinkedIn, the interview, and the follow-up from the interview, salary negotiation, onboarding successfully, which means once you get the job, when you start the job. All of these pieces go into the process. We are only going to focus today on the resume and the resume summary, which is why I say a resume is important for a new job, but it's not everything. There are many more pieces to this puzzle, or many more pieces to this pie, I should say. So what is the resume summary? It's the section at the top of your name. It's at the top of the resume underneath your name. And it always comes before the first heading on a resume. And also it sums up the person and what they can do, but according to the job description. And it sums that up in a very big, sweeping way. I'll say that again. The resume summary, it's a summary. It sums up what you as the candidate can do according to what the job description is asking for, but in a big and sweeping way. And we will get into this more and more. So who is the resume summary for? It's not for you, okay? That's a really important thing to remember. It's for the reader. And who is the reader? The reader is the person in HR who's screening the resumes. It's the hiring manager. And in more and more cases, it's the computer. Now, all of these audiences want to see one thing, at least in the summary. They want to see some key words or phrases that match the job description and show that you are a fit. So let me just remind folks that one job opening can get more than 200 applications, more than 200. And that folks really only spend 6 seconds on each resume, 6 seconds. So the summary is super important to orienting the reader quickly to who you are and what you want to do or what you can do. And that's why you want to have one. It's also a signal to keep reading the rest of the resume. So it starts off at the top And if it's something that is well written and it matches the job description, it has some keywords, plus it follows a good cover letter, someone's going to say, okay, I've spent 6 seconds looking at this, I'm going to dive in a little bit more. And also, a concept I really want you to take on is that in all these different pieces of the pie that make up the process, you are actually explaining in little ways why you are great for the role. And when it comes to the resume summary is a way to show your competence on the resume, to show very quickly up top, hey, I am someone who you should look at. Because for career changers, after the summary section, there may be a range of experience, and that experience may seem really random to the person reading it, right? They'll say, well, this person worked at the Washington Post, they worked at the AP, they worked at this online publication. Why are they applying for this job? And if there's no summary section up top to sort of pull it together for the reader, they may be confused as they read the rest of your resume. So it's something really critical and helpful for career changers. Now, I will go back again to this idea of pieces of the pie, because when you have a summary, you are saying, hey, I am a career changer and I am worthy of a look. And so these are the pieces, again, of the process where you can say that. You can say that in the referral, you can say that in the intro blurb, in the cover letter, you can say it in the interview, and especially in the resume summary, you can also make that point of I am a career changer and I am worthy of a look for this position. So when do you use the resume summary? I want to be clear that there are lots of different opinions about actually A, if you use one, and B, when you use one. I think it's really critical and helpful to use it when you're changing careers. Because again, as I've said before, it then helps to fill those gaps. And when you're changing careers, you're often applying for a job that you don't have direct experience in, but you want to make a case that your skills can transfer. So that's when a resume summary is really helpful. Now, you may think, I don't want to do a resume summary. I don't buy that it's useful. So you actually don't ever use one. But these are the instances when you would. Now it's time for us to dig into a sample. And I am going to show you a sample of my resume summary, one that I recently wrote for a position that I had absolutely no direct qualifications for. So I think it's a really good example. Let me click on this. And okay, I'll make my screen bigger. Hopefully you can see that. Okay, so here is a copy of a resume of mine that I used for a job description asking for a career coach. And in the job description, they wanted a lot of human resources, HR background, which I don't have. So that's why I think this, this summary is really instructive, because of course my experience mostly is in journalism, but here's how I wrote a summary that could tie my experience to the job description. So let me just read it. Well, first let me say that it's underneath my name, of course, and I say, engaging and insightful career coach with a record of successfully assisting clients. Skills honed by a diverse professional background and exceptional listening and writing skills. Okay, so I'm going to analyze this resume summary section by section, word by word. Okay, so first I start out with engaging and insightful career coach. Engaging and insightful obviously are adjectives, and those adjectives are personal to me and describe me. And so it's important because even though this process can seem very not human and not personal and impersonal, frankly, people hire people, they don't hire resumes. And so one way to show that you are a person is, how would you describe who you are and how you work, how you act? What is someone else's experience of you if you were to work with them? So I say, you know what? I am engaging and I'm insightful. So I picked those two adjectives to share. And then there's the noun, career coach. Now, if you are on my email list, you know that I've said I am not a career coach. I'm not your career coach. But guess what? That's a word that they used in the job description. So it's like ding, 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 keyword, SEO. I'm just going to take that word and pluck it into my summary so that I match what they're looking for. And then I say, with a record of. Very clearly, what does that signal? It signals I have accomplishments. I have done things. And I say, with a record of successfully assisting clients. Now, I could have not said successfully, but I said, I just want to double down. I want to make sure that in this summary, it's clear that you know that I have a record and my record is successful. And then I say assisting clients, of course, because those are the kinds of people who I worked for. Again, very generally, I don't say these kinds of clients or describe 10 different kind of people. But what I do signal is that I have been a coach, according to this job description. I have worked with clients and I've worked with them successfully. Done, right? And then this is where I get to the part where it's a nod to my other experience and my career change. I say skills honed by a diverse professional background. Of course, my background is diverse because it's not only in HR, which is what they want, but also I remember from this job posting that they use the words diverse professional background in the job posting. So guess what? I'm going to throw that in my summary. And if you can end with something personal, but not just personal, but personal that ties to the job posting, go for it. I say, guess what? I've got in plus with this diverse professional background, I've got exceptional listening and writing skills. And that's true. I have those from journalism, and those skills are absolutely essential to this job. Now, I want to draw your attention to the rest of the resume here, which I mostly kept blank on purpose, but these are the three other headings that I have on the resume: work experience, education, and skills. So now you have read this summary and you say, okay, this person has been a career coach. I'm looking for a career coach. They say that they're engaging and insightful. That sounds intriguing. They say that they have a record of helping clients. That's great. And they have a diverse professional background, and they have these great listening and writing skills. Now, what is the experience that shows that that's true? I'm going to highlight and show you some text underneath here, just so that you have an idea of how these two tie together. So I didn't include all of the bullets and all of the text underneath here, because we don't need all that detail to be instructive, but I wanted to show you that if you take this summary, it's big picture, I'm engaging, I'm insightful, I've had success, my background is diverse, I have these great skills. It's almost like the summary tells me the bullets to include and the information to include, because I know that the summary is tied to the job description. So now I've got these 4 different positions. I say, first thing, online career coach. Why? Because that's totally tied to what you're looking for. And then I have these 3 other jobs, which on their face seem absolutely not relevant at all to what they're asking for. And on their face, they're not. But I've set the reader up for that in the summary. I've said, hey, I have a diverse professional background, and I have these exceptional skills, and I got these skills throughout my career. So now, as I later think about the bullets that I want to include under here, then actually these bullets are tied to what they're looking for in the job description that I've put in the summary. These bullets are tied to being engaging and insightful, to being a career coach, to having success, to having a diverse professional background and having exceptional listening and writing skills. Okay, so we are going to go back to the slides here and sum up. Let's see. Okay. So we went through our sample, and let me summarize what I talked about. This is the example of my summary. You want to start out by making it personal. What's something unique that I have to offer that I would bring? You want to make sure that you use the words from the job description. You want the language to be confident. I have a record of, I have been successful, my skills are, and this is how I got my skills. You have to acknowledge your former career, but then tie it to what they want in the role. I have a diverse professional background, and this is what I can do for you. And try to end it with something personal. I've got these exceptional skills, and these skills will help you. So now let us pivot to, how do I write a resume summary? There are 3 steps that you need to go through. You want to reflect, you want to make some choices, and you want to adjust. You want to always be adjusting. So the question when you talk about reflecting is, do I know the kind of journalist that I am? How would others describe me? What are some positive traits? Am I curious? Do I engage with people really well? Am I thoughtful? Am I great with follow-up? You want to do that reflection, and you are going to end up having 3 to 5 or even more adjectives to actually use. So that's step 1. And then step 2, again, have those adjectives. Once you reflect and then make those choices, have the 5 to 7 adjectives that you feel like are your go-to that actually sum up who you are. And use the thesaurus to really help brainstorm. If you say I'm creative and you feel like creative is kind of played out because a lot of people use creative, what are some adjectives or synonyms to creative, right? Make sure that you take time on this, because if you say you are creative, if you say that you're passionate, if you say that you're engaging, you will need to show up as that in your resume in past experience. You will need to show up as that in your job interview, in your cover letter. And then that 3rd step, adjusting, of course, you want to always read job descriptions, and then you want to say, do my adjectives show up in these descriptions or ones that are similar to it? And then adjust based on what you see and read in the job postings. Maybe you say, oh, you know what? I am that. I didn't think of that adjective, but it's really good. Let me do that, okay? Now, how to write a summary that sings, right? This is, I'm gonna kind of put together the formula, if you will. I do want to leave some room for flexibility, because we're all individual, and especially journalists that have great writing skills. You know, you may come up with something that's even better than this, but I want to give you something to get started. So really start out with something personal about how you work. You have to have that noun that matches the job description, so use those words that match. Something about being successful or proven record. Having a phrase to describe your past work, diverse background, diverse professional background can be a really easy phrase. If you like it, use it. And then end with a punch. End with, hey, I've got these skills, and then these skills tie to what you need. Now, I want to talk about mindset for a second. I want to go back to that, because part of you may be thinking, green light, this sounds great, Fiola, I am ready. Maybe even some yellow. I have some questions, but you know, I think I'm ready to try this. But let's talk to that red light, to those thoughts that are like, I don't know, right? I'm not feeling this yet. So maybe you're feeling like a summary is braggy, right? Where it's like, it's just too boastful, I can't do it. But remember, you have 6 seconds, 6 seconds to grab someone's attention reading your resume. So you want to be clear and upfront. Or maybe you're thinking, Viola, that summary sentence, it wasn't even a sentence. It was like a phrase. It was a run-on. There was grammar. This hasn't been copy edited. Okay, remember, this is not for Daily Deadline and it's not for you. You are not the audience of this. It's the HR screener. It's the manager. And what do they need to know? And their standards are different from yours. Or you might be thinking, whatever, Fiola, I don't need one. And that's totally fine. That's totally up to you. I just want you to remember that it's a piece of the career transition process. It's totally up to you whether to include. I would highly recommend it, but it's totally up to you. That is it. I want to remind everybody about our survey. I've created a short link so that you can just use this link every week and to actually fill out the survey. And for some next steps, the webinar replay will be on the Life After Journalism page. I highly, highly recommend that you watch the video on analyzing job descriptions. That will really help to connect what we talked about today with the resume summary. And if you're not already on our list, of course, please join, tell a friend. You'll find out about our next webinar, and also you'll find out when the next online course opens. And of course, as I mentioned, complete the survey. So that's it. I will stop sharing my screen and move now into Q&A. Thank you.